Trump government is facilitating the absolute destruction of the American immigration system, and I can prove it point by point. I'm unafraid to speak the truth. This is just data-driven and experience-driven.
There are several things. There's the sheer size of it. You know, you have a $40 billion budget, which is, you know, basically approximates the size of an intelligence agency. And I think a lot of it is because USAID is notorious for funding the darkest, most controversial, most horrifying projects known to all of mankind, from funding the Wuhan lab to funding the irrigation of crops for heroin production, to funding the production of fake social media websites to lure people in and then get them to overthrow their governments, to even setting up fake HIV clinics in order to use as cover so that regime change and government subversion work can be done under the cloak of public health institutions. USAID has systematically corrupted both American and world trust in the institutions that keep society going. But frankly, on a personal note, I was not sure how I felt about all of that until I discovered the sheer and staggering depths of USAID's role in the construction of the internet censorship apparatus that took down free speech in America starting in 2016. Mm-hmm. And that
USAID is a key component of the U.S. government's regime change operations worldwide. USAID spends billions of dollars every year propping up NGOs overseas that function as shadow governments, eating away at elected governments that the U.S. interventionists want to overthrow. Behind most...
You're watching live coverage.
Through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government. Thank you, guys.
Viewers and the public audience, but it was important to the folks in the media to understand why, say, Hennepin County, which is our biggest county in Minnesota, that's
Elon Musk, you didn't create USAID. The United States Congress did for the American people. And just like Elon Musk did not create USAID, he doesn't have the power to destroy it. And who's going to stop him? We are. We're going to stop him. Elon Musk, you may have illegally seized power over the financial payment systems of the United States Department of Treasury, but you don't control the money of the American people. The United States Congress does that under Article 1 of the Constitution. And just like the president who is elected to something cannot impound the money of the people, we don't have a fourth branch of government called Elon Musk, and that's going to become real clear.
What about that idiot Raskin? You're going to follow him? Would you follow across the street? Welcome to Truth with J.J. Carrell. USAID. What is USAID? Raskin says USAID is for the American people. That's funny, because the title is USAID. It's not like Save the Children with Michael Jackson and those lunatics. No, this is USAID, and it stands for United States Agency for International Development. What does that have to do with American citizens? And why are congressmen and senators so irate that we're cutting USAID? Well, because USAID is a money laundering system in the United States government. Let's look at it this way. If you look at any conflict in the world, Any civil war, conflict, war, who's the common denominator in all of it? United States of America. Directly, indirectly, overt or covertly, United States of America. Why does the rest of the globe hate us? And don't be mistaken. In person to have on our show. Everyone loves us. Don't believe that. They hate us. Why? Because we've blown up all their countries. We've created civil wars. We've upended duly elected elections because the right person, our right person, wasn't elected. Could you imagine if someone did that to us? You imagine if Mexico came in here, destroyed our election, and we end up with Kamala Harris, and they laughed at us? Yep, you got Kamala Harris. Sorry, we did it. We have people, politicians, laughing about it. USAID is a money laundering system where we take billions upon billions of dollars, and we funnel it to foreign nations to overthrow, either to bull crap things that the female speaker just said, spokesperson for Trump, stuff that what? A couple $100,000 here, tens of grand here, a couple million here for nothing that has to do with anything about America, and then billions to upend nations. And where does that money go when it goes there? It circles back around. I don't have a clip today on Zelensky. Zelensky said, I only know where about half the money is. I have no idea where all the other money is. What? We've given you $200 billion that we know of, and you can't account for over half, 100 billion of it? You don't know where it's at? It's in the hands of our government, our politicians. How do you think politicians come in with basically no cash, no real assets, making $175,000 a year, living in 2 different residences, and they come out worth tens of millions of dollars? It doesn't math, does it? And what Donald Trump is doing is he's destroying the apparatus that enriches the elites, and they're losing their mind. Who right now would be upset to cut USAID so that we don't have to manage pygmies and how they eat popcorn? Do they get kernels stuck in their teeth? That's $100,000. What about LGBTQ transvestites in the Amazon jungle? If they get stung by a bee, what's the outcome? That's $1 million. We need to learn the effect of polka music on people that have autism. Oh, that's $5 million. Let's do that. While we're struggling. And do you think they're cutting that money anywhere? Like cutting our budget to fund it? No, they're printing money out of whole cloth, out of thin air. And then we're all sitting here angry that we can't make ends meet because our dollar is devalued to nothing. Our government has done this to us. The enemy of the people is our own government. And Donald Trump is putting a spotlight to it all of it. Jamie Raskin, is there like, I always think of my father when he says this, Dad, JJ, he used to say, JJ, that is a man that needs to get his face punched. When I was young, I'd say, why, Dad? Because he's never been hit, son. He's a little tiny man talking big words, and he knows that no one could ever touch him because of the security around him. So now he's emboldened. He's big and powerful. He's a nothing. He's a liar, January 6th liar. And right behind him is Ilhan Omar, who married her brother and committed immigration fraud. She should be removed. She should be arrested and then deported back to her third world cesspool that she loves called Somalia. Every war, every conflict, everything that's going sideways in the world, America has their hand in it. Just like when I was a supervisor, I used to have 1 or 2 supervisors. When I was a manager in the Border Patrol, I had 1 or 2 supervisors, always something going on with them. Always someone else's fault, never their fault. I'd have a dozen people that didn't know anything about each other had a problem with this 1 or 2 guys. And I bring them in and say, okay, 50% are crazy, just making up stuff. You still got half a dozen people got a problem with you. Not a problem with anyone else, just you. You're the common denominator. America has become the common denominator in the world of all our problems. We are coming to crossroads in this country every day, not like it's a mile down or 10 miles or 100 miles away. No, we're staring at the crossroads. We have civil unrest on the streets, people waving Mexican flags, burning American flags, protesting the deportation of illegal aliens out of our country. Our dollar is devalued. We have criminals within our own government that we have to root out and deport. We have governors like Governor Murphy claiming to have housing illegal aliens in his up above his garage. He should be arrested. You have Governor Pritzker of Illinois changing the names and date of birth and ID of illegal alien criminals in their prisons so that they can be released and ICE can't track them down. That gigantic, fat, bloated walrus needs to be arrested. Yank those gigantic, fat shoulders back and force those steel bracelets on that fat turd and throw him in jail. We're winning, but we got so much to do. We have so much to do. Donald Trump can't do it all by himself. We've got to have his back. That means we've got to get involved in the city councils, the mayoral races, the school board races, the sheriff's races, and make sure that we have America First MAGA patriots in every position. Every time one of those people come up for re-election, we challenge them and we boot them out. We take over our counties, our cities, our towns. And we became a sanctuary for Americans. How about that? How about we become a sanctuary city for Americans? Wouldn't that be amazing? If anyone out there, you can steal that from me and run for your city council or your mayor and say, I'm going to create little small town XYZ. I'm the mayor, and it's going to be a sanctuary city for Americans. What an incredible idea. What a outside the box thinking to take care of your brothers and sisters. Amazing, isn't it? So much great stuff is happening, but there's so much work to be done. One thing I'm going to ask you is I'm going to ask you to patron our sponsors. That's how we stay on. I mean, if you want not have alternative media, which we are becoming the mainstream media, podcasting, platforms, TV shows like this, but there is a cost to it. Just like Fox News, etc., has sponsors and advertising, we do too. I need to be able to stay on air and push out as much information as I can from my perspective. And the way to do that is to go to our sponsors. Pet Club 24/7, Pet Club 24/7 has taken a natural mushroom in God's natural order, and that is put into supplements for your dogs, pets, horses, and humans. I get my dog Cinnamon Mojos, dog treats. I get, for my immunity, I always have this right here because I take it before I come on. And it's in a capsule. And I also have for rough skin. And the mushroom is inside the lotion. No metals are inside the lotions. I'm not spreading lotion with metals and chemicals that are penetrating my skin and poisoning me. That's what we're facing. Go to Truth with JJ 24/7, Truth with JJ 24/7, and go to our sponsors. They're great. Kurt and Kristen, two great husband and wife Christian couple, started this business, run it themselves from Nevada. Incredible people. And the other one is I just partnered up with Patriots Made with an S, patriotsmade.com/JJ. patriotsmade.com/JJ. Why am I promoting this? Why did I partner with them now? Because for years now, I have been angry as I am going to certain grocery stores and I'm purchasing these products, or I have to go to this cell phone provider or purchase these products that I know that I don't trust, and I'm giving them money. Look, I love Costco. I haven't been there in a month now that I find out that they're pushing DEI. They're pushing racism and discrimination in Costco. So why do I want to go there and spend $600 in Costco when I can go through patriotsmade.com and purchase very clean products that are made in America by Americans, and all their products are clean, meaning there's no metals in them. There's no plastics in the food. There's no nothing. It's just clean. And my money's going to companies that respect and love America and that share my same values. Why would I go and spend money to people that hate me? That my money is not going in to build a product. My money is being taken from me for a service, and they're taking that money and then they're funding Black Lives Matter, which is adversarial to law enforcement and me. Why would I do that? This is the beginning of the awakening, and that has to be a different way you spend your money. The great thing is in patriotsmade.com, I have to go to Costco. I have to buy these products. I'm not going to Patriots Made and spending more money on something I don't need. I'm just going to Patriots Made and buying the products that I would buy at Costco or Walmart or wherever. But my money's going to Americans that love America. I think it's a win-win. patriotsmade.com/JJ. Okay, Tuesdays. Tuesdays is always the best because I get to talk to someone I respect greatly. And that's Ann Vandersteel. Let's bring Ann in.
Hey, JJ, good to be with you as always. It's Tuesdays with JJ. I look forward to these evenings.
So do I. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and get started. I only got you for a couple minutes. A good segment, but I don't want to waste even a second. And I want to talk to you about two posts that you just did in the last 24 hours, I think, that I caught it. The first one, Ann, you posted about American taxpayers have been funding the processing of illegal aliens from all over the world. And you tied it to USAID, which is incredibly how they hoodwink us, because USAID is not USAID. Can you tell us what you were tweeting about?
Oh, sure. You mean the United States U.S. Agency for International Development, not as in aid, as in to help others. That's right. International Agency, or the Agency for International Development. This organization has been the giant laundromat for everybody in Washington, D.C., and of course, the global crime syndicate, a RICO criminal crime syndicate of governments around the world that use our American-funded taxpayer money to fund their coffers. It's really that simple. I mean, when you start to look at the network and the labyrinth and the diagram of all of the organizations, some not-for-profit, some for-profit, they are all grossly, and I mean grossly, on the take. And of course, you're always seeing the same organizations ride to the top again, right? Catholic Relief Services. There's a Chemonics International. This one is very, very interesting. I started to look into that one because I'm looking at people that are on the board of Chemonics International, and it's rather questionable, but they all have the same language on their websites. If you break down every for-profit or not-for-profit organization under USAID and you start to look at their websites, you will see the same language over and over. It's not quite verbatim. Some of it is, but it's almost as if they've been set up for a front to just launder the money. And the CIA has used USAID for quite some time. The other part that I think people need to understand is, in fact, who has been behind USAID and who has been sort of the big person behind it. And it's this woman named Samantha Powers. Are you familiar with her, JJ?
I heard of her just once or twice, though. Unbelievable.
She's a criminal of a special variety, and she's no longer working in the federal government since her exit interview that just happened this past month in January, after the Trump administration moved in. There is no further information whether she's still employed in government or not. But she's worked with people like Barack Obama. She was part of his foreign policy for years, serving as his senior director for multilateral affairs and human rights on his National Security Council from 2009 to 13. She worked closely with Obama on the humanitarian rights and democracy promotion. Remember, we love to promote bombs of democracy in countries like Libya and Syria. We came, we saw, he died. That's to quote Hillary Clinton. And of course, she worked very closely with Susan Rice, another demon under Obama. She was the national security advisor. She was also the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, and they worked jointly, Powers and Rice. It was almost as if they were interchangeable with their skill sets. They worked very, very, very closely. And of course, she worked closely with Hillary Clinton. We don't even need to, go to her resume, because I think we all know what type of demon she is. She worked closely with John Kerry, Ben Rhodes, Antonio Guterres, who was also the UN High Commissioner for Refugees. Another organization that President Trump has just said, UNHCR, we're done with the funding. I'm challenging President Trump to completely defund the United Nations once and for all, because that is a giant supranational, multi-jurisdictional and multi-governmental crime ring of just laundering money through all of their NGOs. And of course, we can't forget Joe Biden. So she's had multiple NGOs and global collaborations around the world, made her a perfect person to really lead this money laundering scheme of USAID, which has, siphoned billions and billions of dollars, of which even Zelensky just said he didn't even know where half the money went that we sent over there, apparently. So if he's in the dark, you can imagine how in the dark the American taxpayer has been.
And on your tweet that you retweeted, it ties USAID to HHS and FEMA through, and the thing that ties all these organizations together is refugees. All of it. All of it laundered through the refugees. So tell me if I'm wrong. This is what I've uncovered in my research and writing my books. You get the USAID, it pumps it to HHS and to FEMA. FEMA pumps it, and HHS and DHS together, but DHS uses FEMA as their laundry machine, and it pumps it to all the NGOs internally in America. Then USAID, the United Nations, IOM, that takes care of the international NGOs. And then it kind of bleeds together, where there's really no demarcation between the international and national NGOs. And that's how they're using it. They're using it all under the guise of moving people from the Southern Hemisphere into the Western Hemisphere. Am I off on any of that?
No, you're spot on. And let's remind everybody what the end goal is. There's two of them. One, global governance, because these people truly believe that we should be one globally governed world, as opposed to what God had created, which was different people in different parts of the world on different continents that spoke different languages, different cultures, different looks, all of it, right? We're all different, but in his image. So they want to really homogenize us through mass weaponized human migration, which is the oldest trick in the book to destabilize any country. Just look no further than the United Kingdom. It is really only 30% left Brits of the Caucasian variety. They have been completely transformed into a Muslim country. So again, that was never the design from the beginning, but it is what they have done, because these are anti-God demons that believe in global governance. The other issue at hand here, and they put it up, they used to chisel it into stone, into Georgia Guidestones, was that they believe in depopulation. They believe we are way overpopulated on the earth, and they believe that we should only be 500 million people living, quotes, in harmony with nature. So again, by using weaponized human migration and dragging people through wars and through inhospitable conditions, like you're so familiar with the Darien Gap, the reporting we've done down there, that's dangerous to even make that journey all the way to the United States through these circuitous routes, especially when they had the CPB-1 app and people could have flown in. They forced these people on these journeys because they wanted to weed them out. They wanted take that dangerous journey to come into our country to lay waste to Americans. And in fact, this is what we've seen. Our cities have been upended and overruled. Thank goodness to Tom Homan and the teams now in your former agency and also in ICE specifically that are now stepping up. But we have a president that is standing on Article 4, Section 4 and the laws of this land, JJ. So, USAID being defunded, these are all, again, agencies, corporate for-profit entities that are taking taxpayer money and laundering it through all these other NGOs to hide the money. And of course, everybody gets greased along the way. The people who are getting literally greased into a shoebox are the American people, because we're on that banana peel as we slide into the box and they put the nails in the coffin and down we go. But no more. We've got a handle on this.
It's amazing to see what Donald Trump is doing. Like, he's going to close down USAID. It's going to happen because he's already pushing out his spokesperson, a spokeswoman, and she's coming right out and just laying it out. Let's list the insane programs that we're funding. We're funding our own demise. Chrissy Noem defunded all the NGOs, Catholic Charities, Jewish Family Services, on and on and on. That's the machine or the engine that drives the vehicle of illegal immigration. So we're seeing things change over. It's interesting, though, Ann, to see when these things begin to fall, who's tied to them. Like Ilhan Omar is now, and Jamie Raskins. So they're screaming about USAID. The reason why they're screaming because they're getting kickbacks. You know that's what's happening. And why is Ilhan Omar still in America? She's an illegal alien. She married her brother. She committed immigration fraud. She should be arrested and deported. Why is she and her brother still in America?
I mean, that's, and she's speaking in her native language to tell people how to hide from ICE. I mean, it's out there. They were playing it on Real America's Voice earlier today on Charlie Kirk's program. These people subvert their own law. Remember, these people are governed by the U.S. codes because they are a legislative democracy in that 10 square miles as defined by 28 U.S.C. 300215A. The United States is a federal corporation, and that federal corporation is defined by the 10 square in D.C., which is where they reside and for whom they work. They don't work for us. They work for that corporation of the United States. And so, again, they have their own U.S. codes by which they must abide. And there you hear them ignoring their own immigration codes in the U.S. code statutes and rules. And they're basically flaunting it in our faces. And she's sitting there in her own native tongue, speaking to other illegal Somalis, saying, this is how you hide people from ICE. It's just absurd. But again, this is the real, what I think, a very consequential battle between the corporation of the United States and the Republic of America. And we are in this throes of the battle right now. And frankly, it's quite beautiful if you know what you're looking at. But if you don't, you're scared and you feel alone and afraid, and you shouldn't. You should be looking for people who understand this and getting educated quickly, because the information is pouring out everywhere, including Instagram. I'm seeing the most amazing stuff I was called a nut for 4 years ago. Today, it's almost really mainstream.
Well, let's dovetail right into the next tweet that I wanted, and it's all about the corporation versus the republic. And I want you to talk to us like we're 5 years old and try, because this is the age of awakening, Ann. And this is what you wrote: 50 states of the union, a distinct jurisdiction. And you say, do you know the District of Columbia and the 50 states operate under different tax jurisdictions? Explain that to us, Ann, because here's the thing before you get started, here's what's happening, and it's spreading like wildfire. We don't have to pay income tax, federal income tax. It's voluntary.
That's right.
And it's waking America up. I think once we're done through this awakening, I think there's going to be literally heads rolling in the streets. When we realize we're 50 years old, that I have been paying federal income tax for 4 decades, almost. For what? You've been stealing money from me?
That's right.
Not only that, I could understand, I could almost be okay, Ann, if my streets were paved with gold and I lived the greatest life in the world and no crime and everything was fine. But I live in squalor because our infrastructure is just devastated. And you've taken all my money and you sent it overseas. And then you circled it back and made yourself rich. This is crazy times.
Well, they're using the power of jurisdiction. Most of these people keep all their money offshore. We are all familiar with the Panama Papers and how people legally, stashed money offshore outside the United States jurisdiction. There's a reason why banking in Switzerland and Singapore is a big thing, because if you bank in Singapore and the government tries to levy, against you, Singapore will tell the United States government to pound sand. They're not going to give them anything. It's about jurisdiction. And so again, An American national is somebody who does not live in Washington, D.C. A U.S. citizen is someone who is classified as living and working in Washington, D.C. Most of America doesn't fall into that swamp trap. We are out living in the Republic of America. We just didn't know it because the 14th Amendment, which was unconstitutionally ratified, by the way, and was literally, forced down the throats of people who were afraid that if they didn't, submit, that they would be left out. And there's a whole story behind that. But I'm going to tell you this: in 1868, after the Civil War, the 14th Amendment was, quotes, ratified in air quotes, unconstitutionally so, making you a U.S. citizen. So you went from being an American living in Virginia or New York or New Jersey or wherever, as electing your public servant. Listen to the language: electing your public servant. And in 1868, under the 14th, you became a U.S. citizen, voting in your debt slave master. And so they started to really build a whole narrative around suffrage and voting and all of this when we were always electors. We were electors, and we were allowed to elect because we owned land. And we were allowed to own land with the actual alloidal property rights, the titles to the land, which meant we could drill a hole in the ground and not have to get a permit from somebody giving us permission to put anything in the ground to extract water or any other resources. Today, we aren't allowed to do that. We think we own our house because we paid a mortgage off, but we still have to pay property tax. Why? Because the deed allows you to transact the house on top of the land. You don't own the land, you own the property, which is your house. And you read your warranty deed and you're known as a joint tenant, which means you're basically leasing the land from the landlord, which is your county. And again, you don't pay property tax. They come and take your entire house and your land. So it is really a king's ransom that we're paying still today. And the income tax is the same thing, JJ. The 16th Amendment, again, was not ratified properly, just like the Federal Reserve was not ratified properly. And the 16th Amendment is tied to the United States Code, Title 26, which was never enacted by Congress into positive law. So I've interviewed countless people from the IRS. There is no law that says people must donate money to the IRS, which then forwards that money to the World Bank. It is not even collected in the Treasury. It is sent out of the country, and it is used however they want to use it. It has nothing to do with fixing your infrastructure. Hence, to your point, you live in squalor because they're not reinvesting in the infrastructure of our country. Look at what happened in North Carolina. Case in point. This is why President Trump, talking about abolishing the IRS, talking about getting rid of the Fed, taking the money from FEMA, which they said they had none, and redirecting $2 billion from illegals into North Carolina, is critical. The money is there. But we are witnessing this reset, this shift. And like you said, people are waking up that the income tax was always unlawful. We just didn't know it because we trusted our government. And that's the one thing that we have made the hugest mistake on, JJ, is when we the people is listed at the top of the Constitution, it's for a point. We are the government. We need to do our job and hold the people that we put in the positions to allow us to be, to govern us based on what we want. We need to make sure they're doing what we want. And, I'm seeing a lot of evidence of that today with the executive orders of President Trump. We need to help him get more people in Congress so those EOs can become law and he can repeal regulation as we dissolve agency government all around us and get back to the basics of a true Republican form of government, which is in the Republic, the United States of America.
When we start talking in these terms, like 2 years ago, this would be insane. A year ago, this would be insane. Now it's almost as if all of the lies are not tethered to anything. They're like floating up to the surface, and everyone's now getting consumed by all of this truth. I don't think America's ready. I think America needs to get it all jammed in their face and push them down. I just don't believe America is ready to hear how devious, and I'll just say it because I've said it many times, how evil our government is. I don't think America has the inkling of the depth and the breadth and how leveled the evil is in the United States government. I don't think they do.
Yeah. Well,
I just don't.
I think they're going to get a rude awakening here, JJ, because, I know that you've done a lot of work on the border as a Customs and Border Protection agent for all those years. I've done work on the border nowhere near to the level you have because I wasn't badged in, but I've done a lot of investigative work, been down in the gap and, worked with whistleblowers, from HHS that have talked about the child trafficking, spoken to people who have kicked doors in and rescued children in caves and in, tunnels underground, doing in unspeakable situations. Even people that, well, never mind, I don't want to go that far. But my point is this. When Americans wake up to the amount of money in USAID that was also funding these sick predilections for these people, these parasites that work in the corporate version of a government, which is not the real de jure living government of the people. When people realize what's really been going on literally underneath their feet. Imagine having factories, instead of going to a pharmaceutical lab and seeing rats or beagles, thanks to Fauci, in a cage being tortured. Imagine if they're doing that to children. Imagine if that's what's really happening, because it is. They are using these children in sex slave positions, adrenochrome harvesting by terrorizing these kids and pulling the blood out of them. And then when they're wasted and there's nothing left, they use them for organ harvesting. And this has been going on for a long time. This is a demonic, satanic ritual for these people, but they truly believe it. And when we hear the good and evil battle, people need to know this is raw, this is real. Hollywood told us in a movie, Death Becomes Her, with Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn and Bruce Willis years ago. These two women were both married to Bruce Willis at one time, and they became obsessed because he was a plastic surgeon with youth and beauty. And in one segment of the movie, they showed this woman that looked like Elvira, long black hair and pale skin and ruby lips, but she held up this vial, and it was this magic vial. It kind of balanced this pointy vial, and it was blood red. That represented adrenochrome. They told us years ago in Hollywood, like they've told us years ago about so much stuff, the Minority Report, the thought crimes, all of this. It's here today, and we're now learning about it. And we're breaking out of the CIA MK Ultra world that, General Flynn has been a thorn in the side of these people, hence the reason the incoming he takes. But make no bones about it, that man is on the front lines right now helping the entire transition team for the Trump administration, guiding everybody at every single level. There's not one step taken without that man, and he knows all about this. And this is what terrifies these people, because God forbid Hollywood should age overnight and they can't walk out on the red carpet in a see-through dress like Kanye Williams' date did the other night. How disgusting. We got to clean this up, JJ.
And you can tell Donald Trump's cleaning it up. The one thing that I wanted to talk to you about too is what Donald Trump is doing. He's systematically doing what we have been begging someone to do, and that is step brick by brick, tearing down the administrative state. And for example, he's starting to dismantle the Department of Education. Who would have thought that anyone would go and take on that beast? But why would you not? That should be the first thing that goes down, because that is what has been propagandizing our generations, to hate America, to not even know our civics. That's not by happenstance, Ann. The idea that no one understands how a bill becomes a law, how it's enforced, what's the Constitution, what is even in the Constitution? Where did our founders come up with this idea? We have nothing, so they can rule over us. But you're seeing what Donald Trump is doing, and it is genius. And I have to give him a lot of credit when I look at the totality of what he's accomplishing. Is he even sleeping? Did he clone himself? Because there's no way one man can be doing this. It's true.
I agree. He's got grand plans. First of all, he put Linda McMahon in there. She's a brilliant businesswoman. And I recall during his inaugural speech, he said that, Linda, if you do your job right, you'll be out of a job. And that really is the plan, isn't it, to get out of a job? He's currently, right now, as of this month, February 2025, he is absolutely actively pursuing how he's going to dismantle and make significant changes in the Department of Education. Let's be clear. Jimmy Carter is probably thankful at this time for Joe Biden, because he was the worst president until Joe Biden. Right. But he was also, besides giving away the Panama Canal, as well as screwing up the entire hostage situation that Reagan had to come and fix after 444 days for the Iranian hostages. He was also responsible for what I consider to be the most punishing blow to our society ever, which was the Department of Education in 1979. The formation of that agency is, I would say, almost single-handedly responsible for rewriting every single textbook, removing civics and government and history, and rewriting history, frankly. And then, of course, transitioning to this woke culture that we have unfortunately been on steroids witnessing on the sides, going, how on earth are we going to survive this? We've watched children go through transgender surgeries and sex hormones and confusion and sneaking COVID shots because their parents weren't going to do it, but there's a clause in the education system that says, well, if we think little Johnny should get it, little Johnny can just come to us and take the COVID shot because he doesn't want to be left out because everybody else in his class took the COVID shot, right? This is the sick mentality. They stripped away parental rights, and family courts have had a massive hand in stripping away parental rights, because it's not a jury of your peers. It's literally it's like an inquisition, and it's judge, jury, and executioner, and you have nobody to help you. So again, I think that his initiative aligns with his broader agenda, frankly, of just the overall reduction of federal government, hence the Department of Government Efficiency. And he's always been a very vocal critic of the education system. I mean, let's be honest, it has been an aberration of what I would consider or a facsimile of what you think is education. It's really just indoctrination. And it's been like that since 1979. It flipped pretty quickly. And I watched it, hence the reason my parents worked their butts off to pull me out my junior year so I could go to a private school and at least get some semblance of an education before I applied to college, because I wasn't getting one in the public education system. I was getting exposed to God knows what. And this is going back a long time ago, JJ. So imagine if we were concerned 40 years ago, what it is today to be in the public education system. It's a horror show.
It is a horror show. I worked in public education right after the Border Patrol as right under a superintendent. And I'm telling you, without everything I know about illegal immigration and federal law enforcement, that is sophomoric compared to the corruption, the incompetence, and the absolute abomination. What is public education? It is a failure. It's not the people inside of it so much. It's the system cannot work. It's a socialistic system jammed into a capitalist society, and it can't work. It can't work. And that's why you're seeing it crumbling. I'm going to ask you this as I let you go. I want you to look into the future. Mike, Ann, we're starting week 3. It's not like we're starting year 3. Week 3, Ann. When you go back, I did a Substack article about 2 or 3 days ago, and I started to list the things that Trump. My Substack article, if I would have kept going, would have been 37 pages long, just listing what he's done, right? Yeah. And I finally, it's like, after a page or so, I was like, whoa, I got to restructure this. I'll go on forever. My question to you is, and I believe this, I believe Tom Homan has to do this sooner than later. Do you see in the very near future a mayor, a governor, a congressman being arrested under 8 U.S.C. 1324, aiding and abetting and concealing and furthering illegal aliens, like say a Murphy, Governor Murphy in New Jersey? Do you see Tom Homan doing this in the very near future?
Absolutely. 100%. He is raring to go. I'd love to see Noam and Homan bust into Murphy's house, the governor of New Jersey, or Katie Hobbs in Arizona under that statute and arrest them. Even though, again, I go back to this is the corporation. All these states are corporately structured. All caps state of New Jersey exists in a file cabinet in the United States filing cabinet in Washington, D.C. And they have their own U.S. codes that you just cited that they must abide by. They don't even care. They're running their rules or whatever their rules are. And I would love nothing more than to see them make that arrest. And I think it's timely and purposeful and sends a message that we are a nation of laws and that we have law and order, and we have lived with no law and complete disorder and disregard for the law, especially the last 4 years. President Trump got his own feet wet 8 years ago and was like, wow, I remember him saying the swamp is a lot deeper than we thought. And he promised us when he left, he would be back in some form or another. Well, the form that I'm seeing him take at this point now is that of a commander-in-chief and a CEO that is looking at the corporation and going, wow, this corporation is defunct. It is bankrupt. We have bloat everywhere. We have criminals that are just siphoning off money on their pet projects, and we're going to cut them left and right. And he's trimming the fat everywhere. But through these actions, I want to see him cut the IRS, the Fed, and the Treasury, roll the Fed into the Treasury and abolish the IRS. So we need to go back to the People's House of Money, which is the U.S. Treasury, not the Department of, and we need to definitely get rid of the private bankers out of our complete network. That will set Europe free. That will set all Western nations free, including Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. So it is a must-do operation, and I see him moving and advancing, and he has been alluding to it through tax on tips, and maybe we should get rid of it and all that stuff. And there's bills coming forward now. It is moving so fast. I expect one day to wake up and the IRS is gone. And I'll be like, well, that was easy. okay, all my yapping for the last 8 years finally happened. You know what I mean? I'm not going to take credit, but boy, I'm glad I'm not a conspiracy theorist anymore, because actually I don't care. I got a gold hat now, baby. It's not even 10. So this is where we are. I expect those to be pretty much front and center. And the border is going to be, people will be made examples of on the border, and let it be a governor, because again, under our Article 10, Clause 3, Section, oh God, I just went completely blank. Article 3, Clause 10, Section, whatever. My God, I'm going completely Dane Bramage right now. The federal government, the state governors were supposed to be able, or are supposed to be able, to expel enemies that are foreign or domestic, particularly foreign enemies. Every state governor had that right. Article 10, Section 10, Clause 3. Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3. I knew my numbers were all jumbled in my head. Article 1, Section 10. I don't know where my brain was. But that is specific in the Constitution, that state governors may expel enemies that are foreign. And we've had, every state's a border state. You know this, JJ.
Yep.
And so the fact that they didn't tells me we have governors that have been pandering to the other side. Perhaps they're taking money from the World Economic Forum. Who knows? But what I can tell you is this. It's changing now. And I think Tom Homan is the guy that's going to make an example out of somebody. And if it's Murphy, great. Personally, I want to see Hobbs, because what is happening in Arizona is just atrocious. New Jersey, we knew, but Arizona has been faking their redness for quite some time. Well, let's rip the Band-Aid back, shall we?
Yeah. And I think what's happened is these people have pushed Tom Homan into a corner where he has no choice. They've left him no other option, because if he does not address this head on, his power will diminish greatly. And then they will do what they did with Trump. They will smell blood in 2016, and they will attack. And they will attack Tom Homan until he dies. He has to be on the offensive. This whole feeling of Donald Trump is there's no defensive play. It's like he's got 11 offensive players on the field, and that's it. They never come off. We're just driving the ball all day long. I think great things are happening. I think there's immense awakening coming, but I don't want anybody to think that this is complete by any imagination. I believe that we're looking at a war, and we're in the middle of a war, and people don't even know it yet, Ann. And the bombs are going to be able to start dropping. Ann, as always, thank you so much for giving me 30 minutes. I can listen to you all day. I think things that you are saying are coming out, and they're actually coming to fruition. And it's the days of long government are over. Everything is on Trump time now. So I appreciate you giving me some time.
Always,
great days
JJ,
are ahead, Ann. Great.
That's right. That's right. Transitioning to greatness, baby. Here we come. Hold on.
All right. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Ann.
Thank you, JJ. God bless.
Ann is amazing. She's just amazing. She has so much information, so much knowledge. I talked to Ann earlier today, and I asked her, hey, when we're talking about this, could you come back on again into the vault and have a long form discussion and walk me and my audience through the reality that our federal government is a corporation and we are under different laws, tax laws, than what we've been told, and that we should not be paying our federal income tax. She says, yes, I'll do that. We'll walk it through. I have researched other people that believe exactly the same thing as Ann, and they're completely aligned. I sent all this stuff to my CPA, and she sent back, and she called me back and said, I can't find it, JJ. I can't find it that you have to pay your federal income tax. It's like, it kind of changes the game, doesn't it? She's like, yeah, me and all my friends that are CPAs in my business are a little bit freaked out about this. What we're going to begin to learn in America is going to just piss everyone off, because we are beginning to realize that we were not just lied to once, twice. We were lied to our whole lives about everything. Everything. Do not trust your government. I know Trump's in it. I understand he's running it. There are tens of thousands of this administrative state in positions that are still controlling our government. Look at what Ann's talking about and what I'm talking about now. USAID, U.S. agency, United States Agency for International Development. And just because Donald Trump wants to cut the funding, which is in the 40, 50, 60 billion dollars a year, they go crazy. That should tell you everything you need to know. Everything you need to know. So go to the Vault the Vault, Worldview Tube /JJ. Go to the Vault. I have a 2 hour, 30-minute interview with Ann. Holy cow. It's mind-blowing what she is able to articulate. The Vault's a great place to go. Have daily shorts there, daily takes, long-form interviews, and it supports worldviewtube.com. Keeps us on the air. I also want to talk about sat123.com. sat123.com /JJ. I have it here. I'll pull it up. I don't have it in the box. But I keep the box here. This is my sat phone that they gave me when I ordered a subscription. It's like you would at Verizon. You get a monthly subscription. Well, you get a cell phone, a sat phone. Well, you'll never, ever not be able to call family. Don't think for a second that that can't happen to me. Really? You're living in Pacific Palisades in a average 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot house that costs $5.7 million, burnt to the ground. All the towers melted. You have no way to communicate. None. Zero. You're in Maui. You're in North Carolina. Don't think that this can't happen to you, because it can. Or you have teenagers, or you have a spouse that works and goes through dead zones. Why not have that, or get a Bivy, a BIVY, and attaches to your cell phone and helps your cell phone utilize itself as a sat phone. And of course, my favorite product is my son has a backpack that has a ballistic shield in it. I drove him to school today. I always drive to school every day. It's our time, and I pick him up from school. It's our. Even if it's 15 minutes there, 15 minutes back, that gives me 30 minutes with my little dude. Even if in the morning, he's not a morning person, even in the morning, he doesn't speak that much, I'm there, right? I'm there. I'm side by side with my guy. And that's our time. Get ice cream, get a snack after school, talk, watch a podcast, talk about it, discuss things. It's great. Sat123.com. And I asked him his backpack today. I literally asked him, hey, how's that backpack holding up? Because he's a 13-year-old boy. He thrashes it. He goes, look, Dad, it looks brand new. I thrash it. It just looks great. No issues. Nothing's tearing on it. It's perfect. All right. Love you. Love you too, Dad. Bye. He's out going to school. Safe. And the other thing that I started yesterday, and I told you as an audience that I hemmed and hawed. I didn't hem and haw. I just kept going back and forth, pros and cons, because I don't like to ask for anything. But I talked to some people that I really respect that are in this business and doing very well and growing. And they said, in order for you to grow, you have to have money. You have to have funds. You call it whatever you want. You have to have it to grow. So I was convinced to start a Give, Send, Go. GiveSendGo.com /JJ Carrell. $5, $2. I don't care. Whatever you have, and you can support this program and Worldview Tube and help me be able to grow, help me to go and do long form interviews across the country or fly people in to Worldview Tube studios to interview and put in the vault. This is what that money will be used for. I will not be USAID and be doing LGBT seminars in the Carrell household. I will be using this money to grow this platform, to reach as many people as possible and give you great interviews. So go to GiveSendGo.com /JJ. All right. I got 4 minutes left. Ann eats up my time. I love Ann. She can have as much time as she wants. But I want to talk to you about the criminality of our politicians in the terms of illegal aliens and breaking the federal code called 8 U.S.C. 1324. You cannot conceal, harbor, facilitate further the entrance of illegal aliens. It's a felony. The governor of New Jersey, Governor Murphy, actually is bragging about housing illegal alien above his garage. Play this with Tom Homan. He's forcing Tom Homan to act.
Let me read a headline to you. Chicago leaders encourage residents to exercise their rights in resisting Trump's deportation policies. The governor of New Jersey, Phil Murphy, basically admitted that he knew somebody that didn't have full documentation, that he was hiding over his garage.
But there's someone in our broader universe whose immigration status is not yet at the point that they are trying to get it to. And we said, you know what, let's have her live at our house above our garage. And good luck to the feds coming in to try to get her.
Your comment on all of that?
I think the governor's pretty foolish saying what he said, because I got note of it. Won't let it go. We'll look into it. And if he's knowingly harboring, concealing an illegal alien, that's a violation of Title 8 United States Code 1324. I would seek prosecution, or the secretary would seek prosecution. So maybe he's bluffing. If he's not, we'll deal with that. And as far as suing sanctuary cities, well, get in line, because the Trump administration is going to do that already. Sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. There's one example, right? If the young sanctuary cities in New York City, if they would have gave us over the killer of Laken Riley when he got arrested in New York City for endangering a child, he would have been in jail. And he would have never killed Laken Riley. Sanctuary cities are responsible for deaths of thousands of young children throughout my career. And we're going to sue them. We're going to hold them. And look, if he's got to go to the Supreme Court, that's what President Trump wanted to do. He will end sanctuary cities.
You know, there was a 2011 Government Accountability Office study found 3 million criminal.
Tom Homan. What Murphy, Ilhan Omar, Pritzker, what they have done, they have forced Tom Homan into a position where he has to act. Pritzker is going to change the identification, meaning their names, date of birth, etc., of illegal aliens in his prisons, and then when they release them, ICE can't catch them, where they'll take time to find them. That's a crime. But what these people have done is they have forced Tom Homan, and thus Donald Trump, that they must act. Because if they don't act in the face of blatant criminality, then they become part of the problem. Their power, their influence wanes. The people that support them will be upset. They're forcing them. Watch Tom Homan. Watch him go after that stupid sacrificial lamb that just kind of gets out of the pen and walks around the wolves. And then the wolves devour him. That is what's going to happen. Tom Homan's waiting for the first moron to get out of their pen, stick their head out, and he's going to bite it off. And he's not going to let go. Because you gave him no choice. America, we are in a war for the soul of America. Buckle up. This is going to be an interesting but very difficult 4 years.